Hi everyone, welcome back, and you may notice that I have a new way of filming, so let's give this a go. And I want to talk about Forza Motorsport, which is what we can see in front of us. So let's get started here at Hockenheim. That was a terrible start, that really was. Okay, so Forza Motorsport, and what I think of it. Oof. That was not a good start, was it? See, I am very much not used to this driving and talking at the same time thing, but I'm sure we'll settle into it. I doubt we're going to win any races whilst I'm doing it, though. Anyway, Forza Motorsport, it's been out for quite a while now, but I've been away for a little while and I've not really, until recently, had a chance to play it. So I'm going to run through the race and then watch the replay, and I'm going to talk about the driving while I'm running through the race, and then we'll talk about a few other bits afterwards. So I'm going to start off with the basic driving model for this, and being perfectly honest, I've been pleasantly surprised. Now, I did play Forza Motorsport 7, and I've got to be honest, I was deeply disappointed by it. I really was not a huge fan at all. Whereas, what I've played so far of Forza Motorsport 2023, the rebooted version, I've actually been quite enjoying. Let's talk about what I like. Okay, first of all, one of the real bugbears that I've had with the Forza series since I've picked them up again on PC has primarily been around the force feedback, and this applies to both Forza Horizon, all of them, and also Forza 7, and that is the force feedback has been absolutely appalling. It really has. But I have to say, I've been quite pleasantly surprised with the force feedback in Forza Motorsport 2023. Now, don't get me wrong, it took me an absolute age to get it set up to a point that I liked it, and if anybody's interested, let me know in the comments and I'll put together the settings for my T300. Hopefully they can be used as a good starting point. But now I've got them dialed in, I actually quite like the force feedback. Now, don't get me wrong, we are not talking genre-leading force feedback that's going to blow much away, but we are talking a significant improvement over the force feedback that we had in Forza Motorsport 7. It weights up really nicely, and in a pretty realistic manner, in all honesty. It reacts pretty much as I'd expect it to, if in a overly simplistic manner, but it does stuff right, and you know, it's in the ballpark of accuracy. One thing I really do like about it, that is good to see on a title of this kind of level within sim racing, is when you start understeering, you get your self-aligning torque slip away and the steering goes light, exactly as it should do. And not every title does that well, or even does that, looking at you, Gran Turismo. But it does it quite nicely in Forza Motorsport. And then there's the overall physics side of things, and as far as the overall physics go, yeah, again, this is not genre leading, but it's quite nice. It does what I expect it to do, and it does what I expect it to do at the time I expect it to do, in the ballpark of how I expect it to do it, you know. Cars understeer initially, road cars anyway. Race cars depends on how you set them up. Oversteer's nicely telegraphed and pretty easy to pick up on and also correct. If anything, oversteer is a little easy to correct with a wheel. But overall, no, it drives really quite nicely, and I actually am quite enjoying it. Ooh, nearly rear-ended the VW there. That wouldn't have been very nice of me, would it? Probably should try and pass someone in a minute rather than just following this car, but again, ooh, he got squirrely there, and you can see that happens. Now, one thing I will say, and as if to defy me, it didn't happen there, is at times the AI can be utterly brain dead. It really can. I've been pit maneuvered, they brake hard in front of you when there's no need to. They will even, without any need whatsoever, drive into you on the straights. They'll pull alongside you and just then start pulling over to force you off track. So the AI is frustrating. It is not very good at all. Although, you know, as if to defy me, it behaved itself then. What do you expect? Sod's law, that is. And, you know, so overall, AI could do with improvement, but the overall driving model and force feedback, yeah, I'm quite happy with it. I don't really have any major issues with it given where the title is. You know, I am not looking for the kind of level of driving fidelity that you get in, you know, a, shall we say, dare we say, serious sim racing title. You know, when Project Motor Racing and Assetto Corsa Evo come out, if it has this level of driving model, I'm going to be deeply disappointed on both counts. But for what it is and what's come before it, no, I'm quite enjoying it and I quite like it. We'll then come on to the visuals side of things, and I'm running an RTX 4070. This is running at 1440, and I've got all of the settings on Ultra. I'm not using ray tracing. I found with my card and my personal setup that if I flag ray tracing on, the frame rate hovers around about 60, but just drops down a little bit too often, and I can live without the ray tracing. Switch all of that off and I get a comfortable 90 FPS, which is more than good enough. And overall it looks pretty good. It's not Gran Turismo levels of good looking in terms of a title, but it's also far from terrible, you know. The weather effects are okay, and overall it looks pretty good. Finishing 11th there, but no major incidents, so I can live with that. Mainly because, as I say, it's my first time trying to do a video like this, so hopefully it went okay. Now, let's just fast forward a little bit here and get on to the replay so I can talk about a few other parts of the title while that replay is running through. So it won't be a moment. There we go. View replay. Let's watch a nice replay of my driving. So yeah, that kind of covers the audio visual side of it. Oh no, I didn't talk about the audio. The audio's okay. It's not brilliant. I mean, Forza used to be really, really good from an audio point of view, but it's kind of fallen behind the curve recently, and I don't find it as close to the front as it used to be, but it's still not terrible in all honesty. It's good enough. But the rest of the package, what do we get? Well, first of all, the car list. Let's talk about that. I actually quite like the car list. It's got a good bit of variety on it, and as this race shows, you can get quite a bit of it used within there. It's not complete, it's a much smaller car list, and some of the models have clearly been repurposed from older titles, despite the claim that it will be built from the ground upwards, so that's not the case. But overall, I like the variety in the car list. It appeals to me. It's a good balance of road cars, it's a good balance of race cars, and it's got some interesting stuff in there. There's not many titles, for example, that you'll find a Ford Fiesta XR2. And being my vintage, that's a car that I remember quite clearly from my teenage years as, being a car that was out there and people wanted. So for me, there's a lot going on in the car list that I quite like. The track list, although they are adding more tracks into it, it is quite small, and there's some weird misses in terms of some of the layouts that they've chosen not to include. But the one thing I will say, having played through it a bit, not completely, is they do actually use the variations that they've got, and that for me is a good sign. There's an awful lot of titles out there that will put tracks in with a million different layouts on there, obviously not literally a million, but a load of layouts in there, and then those layouts don't end up getting used in the career, and the cars don't end up getting used in the career. And that can be a bit of an issue, because you've got content in there that isn't utilised. Well, here, they do a pretty good job of utilising what content is there. They've also got rid of the bizarre build points and car points and things like that that used to lock upgrades behind a level up system for your cars. So the levelling up of your cars to a degree is pretty pointless, and they've still got the car points in there, but you can buy them with money now. So yeah, it was an odd system at launch that has since been removed, and I'm glad it's been removed. So it just feels strange, but it doesn't really get in the way. And speaking of modifications and upgrades, you've got what you expect from a Forza title in there. There's nothing really groundbreaking in terms of the series, but what is in there is, again, more than good enough, similar with the tuning of cars and things like that. So, you've got what you need, and you've got what you expect. As we can see by my Mazda here, damage modelling is a thing, and you can wreck sufficiently to effectively end your race. I've not come across a situation where it is literally your car won't go anymore, so I don't know if that is the case. I suspect not. But you get to the point where effectively you can't race and you have to pull into the pits to do something about it, and that could well just finish your entire race. And one thing I am extremely glad is gone from Forza, which is it's the core gameplay loop in the Horizon series, and was in Forza Motorsport 7, is the spinning wheels and the roulette and all of this kind of stuff. I've not found anything like that. It is just get a car, get in it, modify it if you want to, tune it if you want to, race it, drive it, get points. Points mean money, not prizes. And repeat that loop. Now, some people may find that a very simplistic loop, but for me, it works. It's what I like in a racing title. So, from that perspective, the progression isn't horrible. Now, one of the things I do find a bit odd is that the initial career mode is very, very small. There's not a huge amount in it at all. So what you've got there then is races and events that come out themed to DLC and tracks and cars that are being released and things like this. Sometimes. But they're releasing events, but then they have a shelf life, and those events disappear. And that for me is kind of like, why? Just, if you kept them there, by now, a year on, we'd have this huge single player mode, and it would be absolutely great from that point of view, but it is a little bit of a FOMO type situation where you've got race events that some of them can unlock cars, and they come and go, and that to me it's a bit of an odd design decision. I mean, it wasn't my choice, but if it had been my choice, I'd have just built up this enormous library of race events for people to be able to go through and use. Other niggles that annoy me, getting it set up graphically and getting it set up force feedback. I mentioned that second one already. Absolute pain in the backside, really is. Took far too much time to get it done and get it looking good and driving well. From those perspectives, shouldn't have taken as long as it did. There was another thing, and it's just slipped my mind. Oh yes, the replays that we're looking at here. You can't watch a replay after a time trial. Why? Why not? If I just want to take a car out and try it on track, I might want to watch a replay of it. I might want to include that replay footage in a video, but I can't, so there we go. But those are my initial thoughts on where Forza Motorsport 2023 is, what it's like racing in it, what it's like driving in it, and yeah, it gets a thumbs up for me. It's a good, easily accessible, fairly solid, sim-light racing title, and yeah, I'm enjoying it quite a lot. I haven't tried the online. I've never been a big fan of Forza Online racing. It tends to be a bit crash festy. I might give it a go and put together a video on that. I don't know. We'll have to see how I feel on that. I'll try it out and then maybe give it a go. But yeah, overall, I quite like it. So yeah, there we go. My thoughts on Forza Motorsport 2023. If you have enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more content like this, please do subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified when new content gets uploaded. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. Take care. Bye.